All right, it is Monday evening, and it is the EriDan Film Festival with no Dan. No Dan. Dan's not here. Dan's in London. Dan realized he's 5 hours ahead London time, so it is 1 a.m. In London. So I don't think we're going to hear from Dan tonight, but who knows? But that's all right. That leaves more spots available for just anybody to join in to the conversation tonight. We've got a double feature. We're going to have some fun. We're going to pick a new movie for next week. You know how this works. It's the EriDan Film Festival, so everybody gets to join in, have a good time. Head over to eridanlive.com if you want to join. eridanlive.com. That's how you join in for the fun. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to bring in some people. We're going to talk some movies. We're going to talk some TV, I think. We got stuff. So I'm going to start bringing people in here because I'm all by myself. Stacy and Wade, how are you?
Okay.
I am so anxious to hear A, how much of these movies you even watched, and B, what your thoughts were.
Well, we're in the middle, almost to the end of Psycho right now.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
In the background.
It's in the background.
I'm totally impressed.
Probably if we push the window up, you can see it in the reflection in the window.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Well, speaking of Psycho, no. Hey, oh, wow. That looks like the remake. I don't think that was the original.
Did you watch any of these sequels or remakes?
No, I made it through the two. But no. What's the remake's a shot for shot, right?
The remake is sort of shot for shot. Van Zandt inserted some other stuff and did change some things, but it's mostly shot for shot.
Okay, it's a butter knife in the
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's say hello to Brittany.
One ring to the moon. One ring to
It's Brittany.
It is Brittany. Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yay.
Hallelujah.
That's fantastic. You can actually communicate this week. That's
I
very
can tell you about this movie. I only got to watch one of them, but I blame you.
Well, I take full responsibility, and you made the right choice. That's all I'm going to say. And we will talk about that. Actually, I'm going to hold off on our guest of honor and bring in Amanda. Amanda's here. This is a magical night. This is a very magical night. I gotta tell you, I'm so excited. This is really probably our scariest movies that we've ever watched. I believe the first time we've ever gone into this.
I don't know. Howard the Duck was pretty scary.
That's true.
In a different way.
It's time to bring in the man responsible. Let's bring in Scott.
That's Scott?
Yes, it's Scott.
It's Scott. As a baby, he'll grow. Bring Scott back.
What? I see this as an absolute win.
Scott. Oh, Scott.
I see this as an absolute win too.
I thought, of all the people,
yes,
who appreciate an absolute win, it would be you, who brought in the horror genre to the film festival.
Almost as far as we could be from Halloween in the calendar year.
You know what? First of all,
it is still more suspense than horror, though.
Yeah,
it is. Yes, it was actually.
Adam starting off with a, and also starting off with a blah. So
Why am I not surprised?
Right?
Well, I guess nothing in either of these movies is scarier than duck tits. So yeah, we do not have to worry about Howard the Duck crossing any boundaries.
hey, there's nothing wrong with Howard the Duck.
By the way, Sam and Miriam, I appreciate you guys holding this off to the very last minute because they're that scary. So thank you. I'm
Well,
so
it's-
sorry I made you do this.
It took me. You know what? We watched Diabolique last night, and it's so weird. I remember seeing a movie just like it in color, made probably in the 60s at my grandma's house. She always watched the scary movies on Saturday. It was terrible, terrible. And I remembered a lot of that, but I'm like, so when I would look up what was this movie, Diabolique would come up, but not the 60s.
Hi, Mom. I'm on a podcast.
So,
All right, love you.
Well, tell her to get on.
Wow.
See?
Mother. Oh God, mother.
I did not plan that.
so
You should have given her the website.
always trying to look for this movie, and it was very familiar, and did not figure out the end. Did not figure it out.
Oh, wow. We'll have to discuss. I'm assuming, Scott, usually, you get a chance to choose what order we're going to talk about these movies. I'm
Yes.
assuming you want to go chronologically?
I'm totally fine with that because one of these movies inspired the other, and honestly, I can think you can tell which one is better, and that was kind of always the intention. So it's all.
Well, I
good.
apologize. I did not, because I was so busy making Scott's intro. I did not get a chance to actually make cards for this week.
Oh my god!
Rotten Tomatoes. Got to make a choice. 1955, Diabolique or Les Diaboliques. Obviously, 55% from the critics, 53%. And I have no idea how much money this cost or made, but I'm guessing about $80. No, let's dive in, Scott. Why did you choose to have us watch? This is our first subtitled movies as well.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
You broke new ground here for us. It only took 180 some movies to get us to subtitles.
Imagine that. Okay. Well, I kind of had this going through my head while I was watching both these movies, but you can clearly see that there's actually two very different schools of thought in these movies. The Diabolique came out in the post-war era, and it was after World War II, before the Truffaut, New Wave, Goddard sort of mindset, where you cared a lot more about the director taking control of how you saw things. And I feel like that's really clear and evident because this movie kind of takes a sort of unobtrusive approach with how it tells the story. It's very much it almost feels like a film that could be shot in the 30s, honestly. It relies a lot on its story and maybe its editing here and there with some very choice shots to get it across. But it kind of feels like it trusts its source material enough that I can go ahead and just do that story.
And there's some great long shots in it too. There's some shots where they move from inside to outside and back inside all in one long shot, and it's just marvelously staged.
Exactly. And that's the thing about Diabolique, is that it's not afraid to kind of just let things happen. And it's almost kind of like Kubrick, where he'll make things look so pretty and easy to see that you cannot help but feel like something is off. But it's before that. It's before the perfect shot actually made you feel terrified. It's actually, no, this is just normal everyday people. And on top of that, I think the biggest weakness of this movie and what kind of holds it back is not just how it visually tries to tell its story, but also where it goes. It has this disease that a lot of outside American movies had, which was that we have to talk about what was happening in the country at the time, because France is trying to find an identity in its movies, and so are the people that are making them. They're trying to cope. So you basically have all these different people from all these different walks of life in this movie that don't really benefit or help with the story. You have like the whole side thing with the soldiers. You have the two neighbors upstairs who are like, oh, yes, we're people who lived through 2 world wars and we're kind of grumpy neighbors. And this is what life was like for people our age during post-World War II. You have even the doctors, too, with what they're willing to help patients and how they work and where they work. I feel like overall, that's a big reason why this thing takes place at a school, because he had to get the youth in there somehow as well. It's trying to be a tableau for the French world while also trying to be a very suspenseful movie. And as a result, there's a lot of exposition that's kind of needless, and it either draws things out for you or it kind of seems pointless because you want to know more, you want to know more, you want to know more. What's going on? But I still feel like the strengths of this movie is very clear their performances. Like they carry a lot of the heavy things, the heavy, dull parts through, where you just have a lot of traveling, you have a lot of walking, there's just a lot to get through. And for how long it takes for us to get from a very key scene to the very ending, I feel like the main character especially kind of pulled that through. And it's a great twist that you didn't see coming, which again,
Clouseau also isn't afraid of long shots.
He is.
Just the shot of the 2 women sitting by the pool talking is a very long shot.
It is.
Statically framed without movement, because it's just focusing on them and slowly crystallizing the relationship between the 2 women just through their body language and their dialogue.
Exactly. And it's a very theatrical thing to do, and it shows that he trusts his actors. Like, he knows it's not like, Jimmy Stewart, who was freaking out on rope because he couldn't get through 20 minutes of lines and then a break. It's the opposite.
I can't blame him, to be honest.
He said he was never going to do the Hitchcock movie again after Rope, and then he did like 3 or 4 more, I think. Yeah. So go figure.
So Adam said that the subtitles broke him. Hated watching movies with subtitles. Distracted him from his viewing experience. Now I did point out that you did have the option for free on YouTube to watch the English dub. If you
Gotta warm up the motor.
Of course, I pick a scene with no words.
But that's also this movie, so.
Mr. Herbu, you've really been a great help to us.
No, not at all. You can't help a body out.
You helped all right. Here, this is right for the road. Right. And be careful. The highway is jammed today.
Yes, they've
There are
mobilized
exceptions.
2,000 patrolmen.
Dubs are bad.
The English dub is so bad.
It really
the problem
is.
is that with the 4Kids stuff, they would have never shown whatever happens.
We watch so much TV that is British or Australian or whatever that we are so used to subtitles that I didn't even notice.
Me too.
You have subtitles and you're British and Australian
Oh,
TV?
yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to because of the different accents. You have the northern accent, you have the middle
But
accent.
at least then you're hearing the language. Like
Exactly.
With kids these days.
Yeah.
So many things with the kids. They love subtitles on everything.
I kind of get like, I don't know. I'm kind of in a weird spot. I'm like the weird, horrible anime fan who actually, if the dub is good, prefers a dub, because if the dub is bad, obviously don't watch it. But if it's a good dub, like the people who are watching it in the original Japanese in Japan understand the language, so of course, they're getting the cadence, they're getting the word order, they're getting the emphasis on the right words when they are listening to it. If you read, if you don't speak Japanese and you're watching a subbed anime or something, you are like, you can read the words and you can hear that there's inflection, but you don't know how they match up, and you're not getting the same thing that the people who are watching it in the original Japanese are. So if it's a good dub, watch a dub. If there's not a good dub, then it's not good either way.
You also, when you're watching a subtitled movie, it's easy to miss subtle things on the screen because your eyes are constantly going down to the subtitles, and you miss the fact that someone just walked behind someone upstage, or there are things you can easily miss.
At least for like animated things, I think it's generally better just because you don't have the lip sync issue as bad. It's much easier to lip sync to an animated thing than to lip sync to actual humans speaking French. Like it's like they're not gonna like, this is not a they didn't like do crazy CGI to make their mouths match up to English words, so it's gonna kind of look awkward.
They've done some bad stuff with that lately.
They can definitely do it now, though. It's hilarious. I saw something.
It feels like a very fine line with it being uncanny, but like Yeah, I mean, with current like AI technology, you can pretty easily have it match.
What was that movie about the tsunami in Asia from 10 years ago?
Oh man,
Godzilla. No, I'm kidding.
No,
Emily Blunt was in it, I think.
Was it the? All I could think of was that kaiju movie, but
I also have to
Oh,
admit
that
too,
one.
I do.
oh shoot,
I know
Pacific Rim?
there's some people, especially younger, that find black and white movies somehow distracting. They're so unused to it. And I've definitely heard that reaction from people. I love a good black and white movie. If it's well made, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. And the cinematography and the lighting in a really well photographed black and white movie can make an impression that's actually hard to do in a color movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the black and white was fine. There was one moment that was that I just found funny because when they specifically called out, "Get my red trunk," and they're like, "Oh, this one," and I'm like, "Yes." I was like, "It could be any color. I don't know what color the trunk is." But I appreciate that we had the mental image of the color of one object in like the entire movie.
Yeah.
And the gray suit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, gray suit. It's like, oh, this is actually gray. Like, oh, okay.
Oh, I love the kid who had to stand in the corner.
I was so sad for him.
I know.
But that was the kids in general in this. It didn't have big roles.
Yeah,
but they were in no way distracting, and no way. It wasn't a Goonies-like performance.
I thought that the kids were 100% believable.
Yeah, I actually really liked the setting of the boarding school. Was a cool setting, and her being like the owner of this place. It was a really interesting setting to take place in. It wasn't,
and the subtle ways where the cruel headmaster is serving them rotten fish and bad salads and just cutting pennies everywhere.
Oh yeah, there's no sympathy.
Yeah,
there's no sympathy there.
I think it also helps because it's taking place at this like boarding school. There are always people around. So it's not like
the poster shows her putting poison in the bottle.
Oh yeah, we're not playing our. We want to get you to the theater here.
But did you guys figure out why it's called Diabolique?
Because they're mean.
It's the very end. The very end slate. What do they say? Don't be devils. Don't spoil the movie.
Oh,
I did love that ending spoiler.
Yes,
part.
I did appreciate
that.
And I also just love the ambiguous ending of the movie too. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what did she make it?
What's that?
What was ambiguous that you were like?
When the kid said he had seen her, the dead woman.
Yeah.
After earlier, he said he had seen the supposedly dead guy.
Oh, the dead woman. Yeah. Thank you. I thought. Okay, yeah, with the kid. Yes, that was good.
The same kid, which I thought was really cute, really clever. I like that.
Yeah, I liked that part.
Although her death scene was so convincing.
Well,
it was
how many
should be more convincing in Psycho, and we'll get to
scaring someone to death is never a very effective technique. There's got to be better ways of killing someone.
The fact that was their plan seems bonkers to me. Like I contemplated earlier in the movie, maybe he's alive. But I was like, no, you saw her holding his head underwater for a really long time. Like, there's no way that he was alive after that. And apparently he was in on the plan and was like, you could just like hold my head underwater for like 2 minutes. I don't care.
Yeah, he's not just a smoker; he's a French smoker.
And then spend the night in a tub with water.
That's why she covered. I was wondering when she covered the tub with the tablecloth. I'm going, why is she covering the tub?
That makes
well, then
sense
it became
now.
obvious that so he could get his mouth above water and breathe.
Yeah. Well, that's what we've talked about stuff like that before. Like there was a movie that I had seen where it was like before I watched it, I like researched it so I like knew enough about it. But like that's kind of what happens where it's like
that's how heart conditions work. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Also,
condition.
Fun fact: him coming out of the bathtub as Lissa and AFI is one of the top 100 scariest moments in movies.
Oh, I think it's good image. Sitting there going, no way.
His body language when he's coming out of the water is great.
Well, Adam, you were missing a lot because you're being forced to read. I'm sorry, man.
I don't think scary. Scary is not the right word.
It was definitely suspenseful.
It is a mystery. Yeah. It's a thriller. It's
like it was a premeditated. Like even more so than like it was a premeditated murder. They planned it. They did like they told you we're going to do this, and then they did it. So like it's not like there was a horror aspect of the comically evil Frenchman dying, and then the rest was just like intense suspense.
Oh, my. And that's the thing about this movie and Psycho too is that I feel like from my perspective, because I'm so used to psychological horror, and these are kind of the movies that laid the groundwork for that, I'm so much more scared of something when I feel like this could actually be in someone's head, or am I is the test actually if it's in my head? You know,
that's not where your heart is either. Sorry.
Yeah. What?
She was holding the wrong part of her body. She was close. She was not.
You know.
It was.
Well, that nightgown doesn't leave a lot to the imagination either.
It's almost a Nosferatu like rising the way he.
Really? Yeah, Dave, that's what I thought too. It reminds me of that.
Yeah.
With the hands like that. Yeah.
It was weird how like comically evil the headmaster was. Like, you really, like you get it. Like, you want us to be like on their side with murdering him, but it was like a little like his insisting she swallowed the fish. Everything he said was just like evil mastermind.
Well, he says, "Yeah, go ahead and die. No one will miss you, and I'll be happier." You know.
Yeah, like he was not like the only time he even pretended to be nice was when she was trying to divorce him, and even then, it was not like a very convincing act. Like. I don't know.
They wanted to make sure nobody felt bad. Nobody felt bad about what they wanted to do to him.
No.
I remember it was, I think it was A Night at the Opera. I was watching a documentary years ago where the Marx Brothers film, where they're talking about how the one guy at the very beginning of the film is slapping Harpo around. You know, Harpo, the most harmless guy in movies, just a complete goof and a clown. And they were talking about the setup there was that the Marx Brothers can torture this guy for the entire rest of the movie now, and no one will feel sorry for him.
Party of the 10th part, the party of the 12th part. That one. And that's the thing, too, is that Harpo already gets punched around by Chico a lot anyway. So, why? But maybe we should watch Duck Soup. It's only an hour long.
There you go.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Scariest thing is a mirror.
Yeah. Then I like the Columbo type character that showed up in the movie. That made it pretty interesting.
I made that comment to Jennifer where I was like, all of a sudden we're watching an episode of Columbo.
I know.
Yeah, you kept waiting for
Columbo ties more into the other
One
movie.
more thing.
Because Janet Leigh was a villain in one of the Columbo episodes.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
One of the best Columbo episodes of that.
Yeah, that was funny. He was spot on. The cigar. He just didn't say, and one more thing.
Well, not to get too distracted, but do you know the origin of the "and one more thing"? When Levison and Link were writing up the script to the first Columbo, and this was on the days of typewriters, they realized they'd forgotten something in the scene, and they didn't want to retype the entire page. So they put, and one more thing.
Oh my gosh, that is funny.
That's hilarious.
I don't remember who it was. Was it the headmaster who had like the stereotypical French laugh? I remember there was a guy at the beginning who kept going like, ho, 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 and it was really
he was like, oh.
And it was really funny, but I can't remember who it was.
It was more like a grunt.
Well, I also like the even at an orphanage where they're being fed rotten fish, they still have a guy coming around with a tray of pastries.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Because it's France.
They're uncivilized.
They have mistresses and pastries. That's just what you have.
Honestly, like I saw the whole morgue with the bodies in there. I was like, you know what? Spas aren't like what they used to be.
Right?
Just rows of
Why are there
things,
face holes in all of the tables?
We don't understand the little on the floor dolly to pull the body out and then take it to a higher on wheels.
But they could have just pulled it straight out onto.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a union job.
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
So something really interesting that I noticed is that you had almost no close-ups until the very end. You would usually like see something like, the bottle on a table here or there, but it kept as far away as possible so that when you finally got to the end, it was up in your face, like his hand going up the stairwell, the glove reaching, his eyeballs.
Just the clip Eric showed of him getting out of the tub, the close-up on his hand, gripping the edge of the tub.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also there were some very long shots, like even in interior when they are having the three main characters are having their discussion after the kids have left the cafeteria, and the wife goes off and sits by herself with the two of them at the table, and it's an extreme long shot. It's almost, the loneliness in that shot is very palpable.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Just the long, wide, beautiful shot, just emphasizing the space. Even like when they pull out while she's staying at the pool, like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. I'm feeling very small. Like, just very subtle things, but they don't try to really be intrusive.
And there was also a real contrast between the two female leads, because you had the wife who's extremely emotional. She's religious. She's racked with guilt. She's short. Then you had a short brunette. Then you have the tall blonde with the dark glasses and the constant cigarette hanging out of her mouth, who almost never expresses any emotion. Who is she's actually a very Hitchcockian character, because Hitchcock loved the cold blonde. That was one of his motifs.
Yeah. And the other thing about the wife, too, is that she has the pigtails, which is very childlike. So, again, that's maybe why she's attached to doing the boarding school. She's kind of in that cycle. It keeps adding.
Adam says, for people who like this movie, there's always the Sharon Stone remake, To Wet Your Whistle.
Now, was she the blonde in that one, too? Because that would make sense. I could totally see her doing.
She's a statuesque blonde, so it makes sense. Yeah,
it makes sense.
Oh yeah, I forgot they did this. And look at the rating on that.
How bad is it?
I think I know who the 23%'s for. But she doesn't do that this time.
That is a shame.
Oh man.
All right. Well, do we want to wrap this one up?
Let's do it.
The EriDan rating bot 6000 is now activated.
Calculating. All right, let me see. That's me. But we want to see Scott, because Scott is the one responsible for this mayhem.
You did this.
I'm sorry I scared you.
It's all you.
Made you read. I am the worst. So yeah, kind of like how I ranted earlier, I feel like this is very neatly placed in that period between the European movies out of the post-war era and then the French New Wave. It's suspenseful in all the right places if you have an appreciation for the fact that this is still early on in the life of movies, especially movies with sound, where you could just talk and actually have those long kinds of scenes. I think there's definitely something to be said also for movies in that period where we hadn't really broken through a very key thing, and that was censorship. This is pre-art film, and in America, the big movie that started that is the one we're going to talk about next, and I think that's why it actually ends up having much more of a cultural impact. But I mean, for what it is, if you were to compare this to any of Hitchcock's movies that came out in the 50s, his golden era, like Strangers on a Train or The Man Who Knew Too Much, movies that are not as visually resplendent, but rely a lot more on the storytelling and the actual performances. I think it's very comparable, and it's a big reason why a lot of people say this is one of the best movies of the 50s, especially for horror and thrillers. So I'm going to give this probably a rating where I appreciate the fact that it's a great film. Also the fact that it's a film that is aged relatively well. And if you can get through the dub, it's, again, one of those movies that opens doors for a whole other country's worth of films. So I'm going to give this one an 85.
85 from Scott. Excellent. Let's move on over to Dave.
Yeah, I had not seen this before. I mean, I had heard of it. I was aware of it, but had never watched it. And in some ways, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm probably going to rate it higher than the movie that follows, because I am so familiar with Psycho. And also Psycho is not my favorite Hitchcock. So I sort of rating it it was probably his most influential movie. To me, it's not his best movie. But Diabolique worked for me in pretty much every way. There are a few weak points. The death scene was a little silly. The whole notion of that's how we're going to kill her was a little bit of a stretch. But I love the visual.
I do have a quick comment about that, though. Jennifer and I talked about this, and I'm convinced that they didn't think they'd have to go that long before she actually, right?
Yeah.
They thought, oh, she's gonna freak out at when they're at her place far away. It's all gonna end up being too much to her there. Like just the attempted murder So I gave it a pass for that because I'm like, they didn't think they'd have to go that far. Right. And that's why, because afterwards he was like, oh man, she really made us work for this. Right. It's like, yeah, she did. And I don't think they thought she would actually live that long.
And it is a murder method.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was my truth.
Please interrupt.
Well, okay. No, I'm kidding. Good.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something, Amanda?
Oh, I was just gonna say that it is a murder method that's going to be very hard to actually charge you with. Just like when the guy came up and was like, "You're looking at like 16 to 20 years or whatever." It's like she just had a heart attack. Like I don't know if scaring somebody a lot is really going to be easy to charge. Like I realized there was criminal intent, but at some level, I don't know what evidence they have that this was.
Yeah, you have to do something like a Rashomon movie where it's like you have the trial. They do that in The Prestige too. So who knows?
Visually, this was to me the strongest part of this movie was the visuals. I love the shots. I love the lighting and the shadow. I love the movement. I love the characters in the foreground with movement behind them and the way that was staged. It was just, it's a master class in how to shoot this type of movie. It really is wonderful. The performances were very good. The characters were very one-dimensional in some ways. Michelle was always evil from beginning to end. His wife was always fraught and depressed and sad and never cracked a smile. The blonde was always cold and aloof. But that's okay. It's a kind of movie where that can work. It's trying to set you up. And that actually does play into too with their next movie, because Hitchcock is very much also trying to set you up. And so I expected to like it because it's a movie with a great reputation, but I enjoyed it far more than I even expected to. So it's a 92 for me.
Woo, 92 for Dave. Very nice. All right. Let's head over to Ryder Couch.
And I did not deduct any points for the foreign language dub versus subtitle or anything because it just is what it is. And I don't really mind that.
Exactly.
How dare they be French?
Yeah, I don't mind the subtitles. I took French in college. I knew a few words.
Yeah.
My German didn't help me at all.
Yeah, it wasn't much help there. But I did. I mean, this is the first time I've seen it, and it really was some good shots and good cinematography in it, like you were saying, Dave. And so let's just go ahead and speed things up here. I'm gonna give it a 90. I thought it was pretty good.
Nice. Wow. Stacy.
It was good. Like I was saying earlier, I remember watching a newer version of this, but not the Sharon Stone version, in the 70s or early 80s at my grandma's house, because she was a horror film fanatic, and leaving the room because it was filmed ugly. This was filmed beautifully. It was a 60s film, and I didn't know what was happening. And then they drained the pool, and I'm like, "What?" And then I was doing the same thing yesterday, going, oh, "What the heck?" And then I don't know. It was really good. I liked it. It wasn't too frightening.
Nice.
It was gross, but the eyeballs, man. That was gross. Because here's the thing. I noticed that right away. I'm like, the eyes, he's dead. He's definitely dead. The eyes. And then he wasn't.
Come on.
What? So,
well, actually, the whole idea of contact lenses actually is a bit of trivia in the next movie. So,
so I hadn't even thought of a score actually before right this second. So I think I'm gonna give it an 84.
84. All right. Reagan.
I thought it was pretty cool. Like, I mean, just like most people, I haven't seen it either. And kind of like my dad, I like that it was French because, like, I took French in high school, and I was like, I know what that. There's small things, but so that was fun. But got a 52, but I remember a lot of things that I didn't expect. But anyway, I like and exactly what Scott was saying earlier. Like what I liked about it was like, you watch TV shows or movies or stuff like that now, and it's kind of set up like plays where it's like it's very specifically transitioned to like specific parts of people's lives and like specific conversations and specifically like all these things. And this one wasn't about that. It was just about watching it. Like it was just about like watching this unfold for people, and that's what I really loved about it. And like so I sat here and I was like, for like most of it, just like watching it, because that's how it was set up. It wasn't like, oh, somebody's gonna come in, like this character that you don't really care much about is gonna come in, so you're gonna be like kind of bored for this second, and like it wasn't like that at all. It was like, oh, I wonder what's happening, and then the part whenever the kid he goes in the pool to get the keys and he comes up with a lighter, and then later like she like drops keys, and I was like, oh my god, that kid turned her in, like that he knows. So there's stuff like that just like think about as you go through it, like just for a split second. It's like, because you're able to sit there and actually watch it instead of knowing different situations that are happening and knowing different characters are doing this and just all of that jazz. So I liked it a lot for that reason. And so I think that it's also an 85 for me.
Yeah, it was really interesting how the like each of those characters that you ran into still had a purpose. Like the soldier was there so that you could have like the false thing with the car.
Right.
The doctor was there so that you could have everything with the body, the fake body. Like again, they're connected there.
Right. And the people in the room above vouching about, like, complaining about the bathtub draining and kind of this weird, like, kind of semi-alibi thing, which was kind of an interesting aspect.
They each served a purpose, but it wasn't like one of those shows where they show something and you go, oh, clearly they showed this because it's going to be a major thing later. So, okay. They didn't have suddenly focused in for for 1 second on the towel hanging by the tub, and then go, oh, okay, so the towel's going to be a plot point later. I get it. They didn't do that. You didn't have that level of.
They did a really nice job with that.
Yeah, because it made sense.
One thing that Reagan has always done is tell you what's going to happen next in everything she watches. Everything.
Well,
she did not do that.
And
she did not do that.
No, I didn't, because like even in Shazam, spoiler alert, it's not that great of a movie. Sorry, Zach Levi. But like there's a conversation that they have like weirdly placed, and I was like, oh, so he's dead. Like that's literally what I said. And what happened? Wonder Woman had to help. It was dumb. So like what happened? I was like, why would they do this? Is so obvious. Like it's just annoying. And this movie, I did not
she
have
did not
any
do
of
that. She did
I was
not
like,
do that. That was my
what are they doing?
Mystery stayed alive.
Yeah.
All right. Brittany, did you get to watch this one?
No, I was preoccupied. Thank you, Eric.
That's more than fair.
We're down to 2 left. That's it.
Oh man. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. I do have Dan's score.
But I want to watch it now, if that counts for anything. You guys have kind of talked it up a little bit. So
it's pretty good.
It's worth watching.
Dan gave it an 82 with no comments, so I have no idea. Man, I really like this. I am in the camp with Dave where actually I enjoyed this much more than Psycho. Maybe not much more, but I did enjoy this more than Psycho. Because I was fascinated through the whole thing. I was glued to my TV. I found it very enjoyable. It felt like a mystery almost all the way through, right? Like it really felt unique, held my attention. Towards the end, you start to figure out like, all right, for this to be interesting, it can't be just some random, it can't be one of the other, guys at the school, because why? Right? That would be really lame. It can't be the kids. That would be lame, right? It can't be the upstairs neighbor. Like just, like towards like the last 15 minutes, I'm like running through all the possibilities, right? But still, honestly, I wasn't 100% sure whether it was the blonde who I've forgotten her name.
Nicole, I think.
Nicole. Oh yeah.
So I was convinced it was her, but I wasn't convinced that he was alive still, right?
The same as I was feeling, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, I really enjoyed this. So I gave this an 88. I thought it was really good and certainly unique, and I would certainly encourage people to watch it because it really is good now that we haven't spoiled it.
I agree.
A little bit.
A little bit of spoiler.
Movie.
Okay, give it to
Aliens.
us, Adam.
Could you believe it?
no, I definitely will have to at some point. I'm close to the end of this other stuff, and I'll have to go back and watch it.
The end of this other stuff.
That is very
other stuff.
You guys weren't here last week. Eric was talking about this new show that he found on Apple TV.
Shrinking?
So
Shrinking.
Yeah, so I did a week-long free trial subscription so that we could watch 5 episodes in one night.
We watched the first episode, but that's all we've watched so far.
Oh my gosh, we did 5 episodes in one night. We didn't go to bed till like.
That was Harrison Ford.
Yeah. We watched 8 episodes in one night.
Jason Segel, Harrison Ford.
We probably would have watched more had we started earlier, but we started late because we had to wait until the baby went to bed. But yeah.
Okay, here comes Adam. She found this to lean more. He found this to lean more towards the shock factor and cruelty than suspense. I'm not big on subtitles or dubs. The movie dragged in spots. Personally, this kind of movies are overrated, and he gives it a 40.
40 is not bad for Adam.
No, it really isn't.
You play the 2x Adam multiplier, and it's a pretty solid score.
That's right. Can we just do that?
That doesn't make him a psycho. No, I'm kidding.
And then his 100 becomes a 200. Yeah, that was the best movie possible.
All right, so let's move over to psycho.
I haven't given a score yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Oh man,
this is why she's an evil Frenchman.
I have a lame excuse, but I won't even bother saying it. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, mostly what we've discussed so far, I thought it was surprisingly interesting as someone who was not interested at all in Psycho, and having a movie that was compared to Psycho, I was like, fine, I'll watch it. But it was cool. Just like Reagan, I studied French in high school and have listened to a lot of French music throughout my life, so it was fun being able to pick up on the French. Just kind of a fun little, not really good to hold that toward the movie, but it made the subtitles less annoying.
Again,
I thought the murder plan was kind of cool, even if there were aspects of it that were a bit like, really. The plot twist was very compelling. The lead was really, I really thought she did a good job at making you really feel how stressed out she was getting. And as we mentioned, the setting was really cool. And the fact that when you got to see her teaching the class and then looking out the window at the pool as they were, I just thought it was a really interesting way to do this sort of thriller movie. So yeah, I think this was a pleasant surprise. I'm going to give this an 83.
83.
Yeah, the one comment I was watching about this was talking about the scene where the two women are talking beside the pool while Nicole is trying to convince her to go along with the murder. And they said in a very brief amount of time, you establish their characters very thoroughly, because the wife is racked with guilt and uncertainty and Nicole is just sitting there knitting. You know, like this is nothing, you know.
Yep.
Wow. Exactly. You know, and to be fair, the movie wasn't made to have subtitles. You just need to learn French.
Yeah.
I thought you were committed.
Colloquial 50s French. Yeah, we're committed.
If somebody's like, "Hey, I didn't like Star Wars because it had subtitles," you know, somebody overseas could be like, "I didn't like Star Wars; it had subtitles." You know, you can't blame the movie for the subtitles.
Right. I didn't like knowing what was going on. Why did they make me read the first 30 seconds?
I mean, I get not enjoying watching movies with subtitles as much. It doesn't overly bother me. But I mean, but also I tend to want to do something while I'm watching a movie. I'm not great at just sitting still and watching. And it's much harder to do that when you have to read subtitles. So
you have to watch this movie. But I also feel that also kept me engaged.
Oh, yeah. And it's not a knock against the movie that I had to read subtitles. It is just I may not always be in the mood to watch a movie with subtitles because I have to be.
Oh no, I agree, because this is a movie that requires your undivided attention.
And I think I did read, I'm not sure if I read this or not, but that supposedly this was this the first or one of the first to have an anti-spoiler thing at the end saying, you know,
please, cool. I like that.
Keep the mystery intact for those who are seeing this after you. Yeah.
That was cool.
They went
they knew social media was coming.
M. Night Shyamalan built his entire career on that, right?
No, but it's cool because I was thinking about I had seen this movie called Angel of Mine, and I knew about it. I knew what was going to happen, but I wish that I didn't, because watching it, I could pick out, oh, she's acting this way because she did this. You find out at the end how she is, and I wish that I didn't, because it would have been such a different movie if I didn't know the ending. So I like that they had that, because I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. If your friend accidentally tells you and you're like, what? you watch different parts of the movie because of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of twisty endings, Psycho 1960 rated R, very popular over there on the everywhere, basically anywhere they like Psycho. So Scott, why Psycho?
One reason only, Eric. It's the first movie to ever feature a toilet.
And a toilet flushing.
Right. I learned that in college. Literally, I did.
where's that toilet now?
Movie ever.
Why is it that
I think Steven Spielberg hung it up next to the sled.
It's on eBay.
I don't know.
I would expect to be able to go to the Hard Rock Cafe.
You can sit in the Hitchcock stall.
And this would be a portrait of him judging you. Like,
all right. So toilets aside, what did people think of the movie? How many people was this their first time ever seeing? Oh, we've got and me
the whole way through was
as well. But obviously, I don't know how much you knew going into it. So
I did not know the ending going in. The only thing I knew about the movie was the shower stabby bit. That's pretty.
That's all I knew about it. I knew nothing else.
Yeah.
So
oh my goodness.
Who didn't know the ending? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Oh wow. How did it work? Now, did it work for you, or did you figure it out?
I figured it out.
I mean, by the time they it mostly it worked for me. Yeah, I mean, I have major complaint about the ending, but it's not about the twist.
I definitely have complaints about the ending.
What was up with that? Why did they have to have a 5-minute exposition of the twist?
Yes,
that was
that was forced on Hitchcock by the studio. He did not want to put that in.
It significantly hindered the movie for me.
The first hour of this movie is practically perfect. Right. I will say the first hour of this movie for me hit every beat. I was with it. I was there. Yeah. The second hour, I have a lot of and then we hit the exposition scene and it's like, oh, that's really bad. You know, I mean, I get it. And my wife had seen it when she was quite young. And completely flabbergasted by the ending, right? Like nobody saw that coming when she had, at that age. I had heard, it had been more of a trope for me that, or the punchline for jokes from years past. So I know going into it what the ending was going to be. But it still works. It just, for me, the second half just doesn't feel as solid as the first half does.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think a big reason for that is because the second half relies on the hype. You'll be very hard pressed to find a movie before this one where you killed off your protagonist within the first hour.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone's just thinking, what the heck is going on? What the heck is going on?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that's when the movie turns it kind of from the suspenseful shot by shot, using editing and cinematography to get a lot of time across, and just chooses to go, okay, we're going to draw things out now. And I think legitimately the whole scene where Norman Bates is cleaning up after the mess is not only uninterrupted, but it's probably like 10 to 12 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's super long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the whole reason for that is because you're trying to figure out what the heck is he doing?
Although it would have to be longer now if he was going to get rid of DNA.
Yeah. You're also wondering, if the mom is going to come back because you don't know the twist yet.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at that, and I'm with Eric up to that point. I was really like, I don't love horror, so the fact that it was like the whole stabbing and the stabbing looked so unrealistic that it just kind of took me out of the movie. But I really enjoyed the first half. I thought with her stealing the money and traveling and her like looking at the police officer when she was like trying to trade in her used car. That whole bit I thought was very compelling and well done. And the second half, when it was just like people trying to figure out what happened, I felt I was pretty uninterested at that point.
Yeah. See, and I figured the policeman would have probably ended up following her, or somebody would have called ahead for somebody to find out where she's going or something. But
because why? Okay, she's trying to get away from him. And not be seen because she's getting a new car and she buys it right in front of him.
Yeah, I feel like at that point, just like get a motel for the night. You have the money for it. Just like chill out for a bit, try to lay low, and just buy a used car that he now knows like exactly what it looks like. It can follow you on.
It made no sense.
I don't understand. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, but the car she drives was the same car driven by Ward Cleaver in Leave It to Beaver.
Was it?
Ward.
Ward, I'm worried about the beeve.
Yeah.
I had a friend come. I was watching it today while the baby was napping. I think that was another part of the reason I didn't get to watch the Diabolique, because like sometimes like when we pick movies, like I can watch them during the day, like if she's out playing or whatever. But like with horror or like like stuff like that, like I'm gonna try not to. And so
exactly
being a little bit more mindful of like what was happening. So she was napping and I put it on, and I had a friend come over about an hour into it. And that was one of my like big complaints about it, was that it felt like it was really slow. Like it was I was like, oh my gosh, I already know what's going to happen. Can you just, okay, this guy's going to die. Can you just get to the part? Like, and we were sitting there and I was like, I made a comment and I don't remember what part of the movie it was, but it was fairly shortly after she got there. And I was like, he's the mom. Like, and she looked at me and she said, no. And she told me no. And so then I was like, okay. And I'm trying to figure it out. And then it shows him carrying her down.
You missed the perfect double feature, Scott. You should have done this and Mr. Mom. Or perhaps Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire,
yeah. Mrs. Doubtfire. But it shows him carrying her down the stairs, and I was like, okay, so
no, that would be with Strangers on a Train.
Yeah, when it shows him carrying her, I kind of
I was like, okay, so I didn't get it. I thought I had it, but I guess I didn't get it.
Unless that was that like that's how he imagined it. Like he's not going to be carrying a dummy body just for like the camera that's watching him to put this as a like.
I would have never guessed that it was the corpse. Like I
think that scene.
Oh, that was the corpse
there to misdirect you if you were starting to figure it out.
Yeah,
it was him.
I didn't figure it out until
the two you away from thinking that
the two scenes that took place at that level, the one where he's carrying the corpse and also where he stabs Arbogast, are the reason they're shot from above is because Hitchcock did not want you to be able to see see
face
Norman as mother.
Yeah.
And almost any other way he could shoot it, that would be obvious. So he shot it from above where that isn't obvious.
The Arbogast murder doesn't work for me though.
Dude, all of the stabbings look so fake. It's so bad.
Clearly stabbed him in the neck, and it's on his head.
Well, and like every stab in the shower scene looked like it missed her, and then she was like flailing, but there was no blood, and then she finally collapsed. But like it looks so.
Well, okay,
you know what you call that actually? It's called a French cut. So it doesn't blend seamlessly, where something is out of the ordinary in the next cut. You don't do a clean cut, and it's supposed to be more dramatic that way.
It just looks unrealistic and funny. Like it just looks like a silly mistake. Like it looks like they don't know how to shoot a stabbing scene well. Like I feel like it would have had to be like more off for me to like get an impression of this was an artistic choice versus we don't know how to do realistic stabbing and make it not like a horrific.
Well, see, I kind of like excuse that as like this is a really old movie. Like movies were cheesy. Old movies weren't, like they don't have like the production and stuff. But I because I hadn't seen this, like I thought he had killed her, or I knew I thought she had died in the shower scene. But when it shows her laying on the floor, you can see her neck, like she's breathing, like the actress is breathing.
And her eye kind of moves.
Okay, maybe he's gonna come in and find her, and she's not quite dead yet, and he's maybe gonna finish her off, or like I'm trying to like figure out like she's not really dead. You can see her breathing. Well, no, it's just
maybe she's still bleeding out.
She is a human actress and has to breathe.
She's a human. Well, right, and they don't have like the CGI to stop that or whatever. But
I partially agree with Adam in that I think the casting of Perkins was brilliant. I disagree with him in the sense that I thought Janet Leigh was also awesome in this.
Which one was Perkins?
It was Norman Bates. Anthony Perkins.
Oh yes, he did grow up.
And then Janet Leigh was the woman who stole the 40,000. I thought she was excellent.
Really liked her. I thought she was great. I liked her.
Yeah, she was great. Yeah.
And who's her daughter? Anybody?
An Oscar winner.
Yeah.
Tony Curtis's and Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter.
I think too, the other thing that threw me about it, because I hadn't seen it and I didn't know very much about it, was that there's like that TV show, like the Bates Hotel or Bates Motel or whatever it is. That's, I guess, like a prequel sort of or something. But I was like, don't him and his mom have like this really weird, like romantic relationship? Like that's why like she's killing this chick that comes. Like I've never watched that either, but I knew it, like in any of the things I've heard about it, they have this very intimate, like super close relationship.
Night crawlers shit. Yeah.
And so I just was like, well, maybe it's the mom being threatened by this girl. Like, so all my thoughts the whole movie were just all over the place. And then I was like, there's no mom. He is the mom.
From 2013 to 2017, I was not.
And in Bloch's original book, Norman Bates was like short and fat and older and sort of like basically a creep. And it was Hitchcock's decision to make him somewhat charming to sort of make it more shocking.
And he was.
Yeah, I thought.
Oh yeah, he could be. Wow, I didn't realize that there were.
I didn't know there was that many.
What can
There were
happen?
3 more.
If there's 4 Jaws movies, that could be 4 Psychos, I guess.
But like all the main characters are dealt with, except for
I thought
like,
Tokyo Drift
Fiance,
went a bit far.
Like the boyfriend, I guess. But like the main villain and the main lead are both gone. Like how do sequels work?
Psycho 2 Electric
I just
Boogaloo.
look up
was
like
a
these
bit
plots
of a
and
stretch.
stuff, but I have no. I'm very
Psycho
curious
4
about
was
the
Psycho 4 was a
wasn't in the tub.
Psycho 3 in 3D. I feel like you're actually.
Oh, SCTV. I used to love Dr. Tongue's 3D House of Pancakes or things like.
It could be like one of those 4D effects that you have like in amusement parks where little knives come out of the seat at you.
And you get sprayed with water. And...
Yeah, exactly.
There's something that we haven't really talked about that I think
In
is a
19...
big factor. What was that?
All right, that was me bringing up the trailer for Psycho 4, the beginning.
Oh, good.
Alfred Hitchcock created a film that is perhaps the most terrifying thriller of all time. Psycho.
And now we capitalize on that.
Now we have something less terrifying for you.
Answers to the questions audiences have been asking for over 30 years.
We need these questions.
What would it look like in color?
What was Psycho 4?
That's exactly why is Psycho 4.
Ambrose on KTK talks
Diversity.
She's doing a true crime podcast. Yeah.
That's right. The calls are coming from inside the Psycho.
Oh my God!
She'd be sweet one moment, and then she'd suddenly
Oh my
turn
God!
mean. Don't you have any respect for the dead?
Oh, okay then.
Interesting.
Oh my God! She has his voice.
So there you go, Psycho 4.
Huh.
Check it out. I don't know.
Wow.
man,
What
maybe
year was that?
I mean, there's a bit.
It was
Beavis and Butthead do his mom.
Good job, man.
Another big part of this, Hitchcock actually he did something very unusual. He originally did not want any music for the shower scene, and the composer wrote it anyway. And when Hitchcock saw it, he was blown away by it, and instead it had to be in. And he doubled the pay of the composer because he was just so impressed by the score. And Hitchcock was paying for this film out of pocket, I should add. And he said later that a third of the success of this movie is due to the music, which is also a huge contrast to Diabolique, which had almost no music in it at all.
Exactly.
And double of nothing is still nothing. So it really didn't cost him anything.
So something
he was one last comment. I'll let you go, Scott. He because the studio was reluctant to make it, they thought this was going to be a complete failure. Hitchcock offered to forgo his salary and instead take 60% of the profits, and they jumped at that because they thought, great deal. And he made if inflation adjusted money, he made over $100 million on this picture.
That's pretty
awesome.
good. Pretty good deal for
pretty good.
That's not bad at all. So to answer the question, Psycho 4 was 1990. It was a TV movie.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah. So how the greats fall.
So I think one thing that really plays a hand in what made this terrifying back then, and something that probably kind of skeeters off today, is that there were so many freaking rules that broke in censorship in this movie.
Oh yeah.
You had the shower scene, which was unheard of. You had the toilet, which was unheard of. You had 2 people in bed together without their main clothes on, unmarried. Mm-hmm. And there was so much weight to that already, where you, as a moviegoer in 1961, or in some ways uncomfortable and at most traumatized, it adds so much to it that to just think about how shocking it would then be to see a guy in a dress thinking that it's his mom, thinking that he's his mom. It's crazy to think of back then. And today, you can still find a lot of people that say that this is probably a huge cultural pinnacle where transphobia probably started in the 60s and the 70s, because people would see that movie regardless of what the reasons were for him actually wearing everything, and say, yeah, this is what trans people are like. It's really crazy. Silence of the Lambs is the same problem.
That was just horrible.
Yeah,
I'm never watching that.
I'm not picking that because I love you. It's okay.
I love that movie, but I would not pick it for this.
Thank you. So yeah, that's what my best friend loves that movie. She said, "Please don't ever watch it, but it's really, 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 really good."
The movie I will happily watch Silence of the Lambs. The movie I feel that way about is Seven, because it's a marvelously made movie that I'm glad I saw once and will never watch again, because it's too disturbing.
You don't even see what's in the box.
I walked out of Silence of the Lambs. I walked out. I couldn't. It was
I've
the last
always-
10 minutes, but I walked out.
I've always heard that described for Grave of the Fireflies. I haven't seen it, but it's the one Studio Ghibli movie that I've always heard, because it's about like two children in the aftermath of the atomic bombs of World War II, and like their parents are dead, and then it's basically them like trying to survive in this like post-apocalyptic Japan. And like I've heard it's really, really good, and everyone who's seen it said it was amazing. I will never watch it again, just because it is like that painful.
There is an even more terrifying movie that's a Japanese anime about the bomb. I forget what it's called, but it actually shows the bomb going off and people melting in slow motion.
I'm good.
Yeah. Fireflies is kind of like Diabolique. It relies on the suspense and actually the
and
art form itself.
Feeling really, really sad.
It's really, really good. Can you find a clip of that, Eric?
I do love the way this movie was photographed again. I thought, especially given the limited budget that Hitchcock was working in, again, black and white was clearly the choice, because you can work so much with the shadow and the long shots when Janet Leigh is driving, just showing her face and just hearing the voices in her head and watching her face expressions change. It was just it's a small thing, but it was just really well done. And
yes, absolutely,
it was there were a lot of taboos in this, and Hitchcock deliberately, he was notorious for this, though. He would put things into the movie for the censors to pick on, so that he could then take those out and leave in the stuff he really wanted that was pushing the envelope. Which is why there is an uncut version of this that had the German version had a few, like 20 additional seconds, but ultimately they don't add to the movie. Instead of one stab of the detective, there are three. There's a little bit of a longer scene where she's taking off her bra. You actually see her reaching behind her back to disconnect the bra. Okay.
I wonder if the other two stabs were more realistic looking, or if they were still just kind of funky and weird. So I want to see those stabs now.
But I just love
I'm
the
sure
look
you
of
can
it.
Google the stabs.
Yes.
And another thing about the score is and all of the score is strings. There's no horns. There's no. It's just all strings, which is really sets a very odd mood. Sort of like the Third Man is another movie where the music is like another character in the film. It really is an amazing part of the mood of the movie.
I just want to point out one last thing. The Easter egg of the whole movie is to find how many freaking bird references you can find in it. You have Phoenix, Arizona. You fly into the hotel room like a bird. Her name is Marion Crane. All the birds that are in every single room. Yeah. It's all
even the ones on the wall, like all the pictures and stuff on the walls to the room.
So people like to say this is the movie that started the birds.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Well, let's. No, you're not, because you have to give a rating.
Oh, Christ.
Oh no! Yeah, it's up to you.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna say something controversial. I actually think that Diabolique is better.
It sounds like there's that's not uncommon.
And
you're not going to be the only one to think that.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a few of us who think that actually.
Yeah, and I think because it's not. There's a really funny Family Guy clip where Peter Griffin says that he does not like The Godfather, And everyone's like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? It's like one of the greatest movies of all time. And he says, because it insists on itself. Now, Psycho did not know what it was going to be, but it relies on insisting on itself to keep itself going because it was breaking so many different rules.
Right.
It relied more about what was happening outside the movie to get you to watch it.
Yeah.
Even though these movies have very similar setups, where with an affair or people who are unmarried doing that kind of stuff, they have very similar key scenes. I feel like
a bath versus a shower. Yeah.
And the water's clean because it's in France. I feel like because Diabolique actually tries to rely more on nuance and being more observant and natural, it actually creates a heck of a lot more suspense to where and actually think this is more likely to happen. It's actually possible.
Yeah.
And honestly, even though the way that it turns out at the end, where we don't know whether they go to trial or not, if they're found guilty or not, kind of like what Amanda was saying, it's still very much more likely that people get taken advantage of all the time to get taken for a ride. And this is just a much more over-the-top version of that. So with that said, I mean, it's Psycho. It's a great movie. There's some things that have not aged well about and some things that have continued to reverberate throughout the genre of thrillers and horrors. So I'm going to get this one 84.
All right. Just to make up for last time, we'll go to Amanda.
Was not ready to go this early. Objectively, I think it's a good movie. It's not really a movie that I love particularly. As I've mentioned, the stabbing was comically not good. Even near the end when Lauren Bates is hitting the detective or hitting the boyfriend to knock him out so he can run back to the house. It looks like he just smashes him on the shoulder and then the guy's like, oh, pretty much any of the action bits didn't.
Amanda needs more violence.
Exactly. Yes. Well, you're gonna do violence, make it.
We're doing a Tarantino movie next.
This is not known for comedy.
Kill Bill.
Which one?
And the second half of the movie, as Eric mentioned before, was really just kind of lost me. I'm not gonna it's nice to know that Alfred Hitchcock did not like the explanation scene at the end because it was really bad. But ultimately, it is part of the movie, so I can't I need to it is I'm not gonna hold it against it too much, but it is there, and it really kind of kills all the momentum, and it makes you feel like it really goes on for a long time. It really over-explains it.
So bad.
I was you see, he thought he was his mother. That's why I said I was speaking to the mother. It's yeah, we know. Okay, we've got on.
We're not watching The Twilight Zone.
A dead mom in the
You must be an idiot. Let me explain this again.
Yeah. I looked at a list because I would have sworn I would have seen in some other Hitchcock movie before this, and I looked, and this was actually my first Hitchcock movie, which is interesting. I've heard of them and I've heard of this movie, but it was kind of cool that the ending was completely not spoiled for me, and that I find that I don't I play a lot of murder mystery thriller visual novel video games and detective-y, that sort of thing, and in those I tend to try to figure out the puzzle. But when I'm watching a movie, I usually just watch it and don't think too much. I kind of just let it happen. So I did not figure out the twist until pretty much the mom body reveal in the basement, awesome. Which was cool. So it was kind of cool going through it and thinking that there was actually a mom who was being real obnoxious. I wasn't sure who was doing the killing. I thought he was still doing the killing. I didn't think it was the mom doing the killing, but I still thought she existed and was alive. Interesting movie, not something I'm going to really feel compelled to watch again, but I think it's definitely not awful. But there's enough things that detract from it. I'm going to give it a 74.
74. All right. Excellent. Let's move right up the line here to Brittany, who actually watched this one.
I did. Yeah, I definitely agree with basically everything we've talked about. It was a little bit slow for me, especially that second half. Just in general, just because you got what was happening and you're okay, all right, just kind of just okay, all right, we get it. can you just solve the mystery and move on with our lives? And then, yes, right.
No,
well, I'm like,
no, let's go stay in a room. Let's go stay in a room and we'll pretend to be married.
Yeah, and then yes, and just all of it was super slow. Yeah, and then agreeing that the psychiatrist narrating the whole ending, I was like, this is too much. But it was fun. It was definitely, I mean, it was nice to see this cult classic, and now I feel like I know stuff. I got a little bit of a moviecation. I didn't hate it. It was good. I don't know that I would watch it again if I didn't need to. But I don't think it was horrible either. I think I'm going to go with Amanda in a 74.
One thing I forgot to mention that also was a weird part of the movie was the detective when he's making the phone call back to the boyfriend and then and her friend to say that I'm going to be back in like half an hour, definitely less than an hour, and he like repeats that twice. Like he really is driving home. Like I feel like literally twice he says I'll be home definitely within an hour, which like makes it really obvious that he's going to die. And I wasn't certain about that which I feel like
you're not coming back.
That should have been like I don't know.
Amanda, it was the best take. They were on a budget.
He didn't have to say it twice. He could have just said it once. Just like cut out the second half of that.
Yeah, come on, Alfred. Cut that out.
Also have to say, I think that the imprint of her body on the bed was a little bit much, especially because she was a corpse who had probably at this point now had all of her organs. Like there was nothing to her.
But she hadn't moved. She had been in that same spot.
Don't you wish you put like jars around with all her organs in it? Like that would have been cool.
That's what was missing from the movie.
That's not right. All right.
All right, I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to start.
Let's hear what you got.
Well, I had seen parts of it because I took a film class at Penn State, so I saw the shower scene then. And I remember the end when they're pulling the car out. I do remember that, and I knew what happened. And I'll tell you why, because this is my friend Tara's dad. So I knew what happened.
Wow. Okay, I'm so sorry, but I have you beat, and my mom is going to kill me. 1 second.
Is it actually your mom, or is it just like?
It is actually my mom. Keep talking. Sorry.
So I knew parts of it. I knew what happened, and I just did not ever want to watch it because I'd seen enough. So I was really upset. But when we watched Diabolique last night, I'm like, it can't be much worse than this. It really can't. And I have seen most of Silence of the Lambs. I have seen Prince of Darkness, and that was terrible also and horrible.
Yeah, that's probably my worst one.
Oh my God. I hid under my. You don't want to.
Yeah, it's the scariest movie I've ever saw.
No. So, and this is because of a boyfriend who, that's the movies he took me to see.
Men.
Is he the one that's a pastor?
And then you married him.
He's the one that's a pastor now. Yeah.
You're out of his system.
So anyway, I guess. So I was hesitant to see it, but watching Diabolique last night, I was like, okay, it's not going to be much worse than this. I've seen really horribly scary things, so I'll watch it. And we were watching it right before because I brought it home from work today because I didn't do it last week because I didn't even think about it. And watching the end with subtitles so we could be on the show. I kept thinking, is he still talking at the end?
Yeah.
He's still talking. I'm reading.
Yeah, he is.
So I didn't realize. I'm really glad to know that was not Hitchcock's idea.
Nope.
And I'm really sad that he didn't have enough pull to say, I'm not doing it.
Well, he funded the movie, but the studio was distributing it, so they had influence in that regard.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's too bad. I think that it's a classic. It's a cult classic. I don't think it's an actual classic in my opinion. But it was shown in our film class. Bill Uricchio talked about it in all these other movies, and he was pretty smart about this stuff. So I guess whatever. He was.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but personally, not a favorite. Won't be watching it again. I think that I'm going to give it a 78.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just gonna grade it real quick. I'm gonna give it an 80.
80. Okay.
So I got home at 7:50, and so I didn't see most of it. But I have a question about it. I did see the guy talking, so I know what we're talking about because I was just like, "Wow, he's still there."
It's weird.
But I noticed right at the very end, they're like panning or like fading away from him smiling, and it goes to like what I'm assuming was mud. Did anybody notice they do like some weird like skeleton face over?
Yes,
his face?
they superimpose briefly 3 different images over Norman.
I was like, ew, that was weird. And then it was mud. And maybe it was like it just lined up perfectly. No, it didn't. I was like, what is that? That was weird. I did not like that.
No, I didn't think that was necessary.
But yeah, I've never seen it besides that. I just knew my sister liked it.
He actually screened both with and without that and decided to keep it in.
Yeah, I mean, I like the choice. I just was like, whoa, that was weird. But yeah, I didn't see it, so.
And I have one more point too. I love seeing Alfred Hitchcock's daughter in his films.
I love Pat Hitchcock. Yeah.
She's so cute.
That's another reason I love Strangers on a Train. I just love her on screen.
She's good.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. See if you can.
Okay. It is a movie that I like. It's a movie I have a lot of respect for. It's not a movie I'm really a fan of. It's just not really a movie. If I see Diabolique is on sometime a year or two from now, I might go, oh, cool, and watch it. Yeah. I'm not going to do that with Psycho. It's just, I respect it a lot. A hugely influential movie. Mm-hmm. Far more influential, possibly because it was an English language movie and not a French movie, but a far more influential movie than Diabolique. For both good and bad, because I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who think Hitchcock is a horror director or was a horror director, which is so far from the truth. The only 2 films I can think of his that even vaguely are horror are Psycho and The Birds.
Yeah. Right.
He's a suspense. He's a mystery. He's a drama director. He did one comedy, which was a failure. But other than that, that was not who he was. And it's kind of weird that has somewhat become cemented as his reputation, largely because of this movie. This movie also was the precursor to so many bad movies, to so many slasher and gore movies that built upon what this movie established. Not his fault. I'm not going to hold that against this movie, but it is really a genre that's just so bad and so played out and so cheap. On the other hand, man, there are some great scenes in this. And the scene at the end with the voiceover of Norman as his mother with the fly walking across the hand, and I'm just going to sit here and they'll see I wouldn't even hurt a fly. It's just a beautiful scene. It's just so well done. Anthony Perkins is amazing. This would not have worked with a lesser actor in that role, because Janet Leigh was great, but you could recast that role. You could not recast Anthony Perkins, which was the problem with the remake. It just, there are other reasons, but it's just, you can't recast Anthony Perkins. He's one of those iconic actors in a specific role. And both he and Janet Leigh said in later years, even though for a while they resented being typecast to a degree, especially Perkins, in hindsight, they wouldn't change a thing, because they'd rather be remembered for a great role in a great movie than if maybe had a more diverse career. And it's just a testament to Hitchcock and what he saw in this movie that the studio did not. And another thing that was influential has nothing to do with the movie on the screen per se, is that this is the movie that changed the way we go to the theater. Because it used to be you'd go in anytime, and you might go in half an hour into the movie, and you'd sit down and watch it, and you'd wait for the movie to end, and then you'd watch the beginning half hour when they showed the next showing. And Hitchcock had a contract with the theaters that they could not do that. And
that's so weird.
And that's even as a kid, I remember going to see a few movies that way, because they didn't always do it, even in the 60s. But that changed the way, and this became the norm within a few years. And the theaters didn't like it. They were afraid they'd lose business. And then they saw people standing in line to buy tickets for Psycho and went, oh, maybe this will work. So it was a very influential movie from a business perspective as well. It's one last comment about, because we talked about the long speech, which the studio sort of forced on him. Another scene that Hitchcock wasn't a big fan of was the detective, the sheriff, I should say. And he was in an interview with Francois Truffaut, who was asking about he thought the scenes with the sheriff were a letdown, and Hitchcock said, "Well, the sheriff intervention comes under the heading of what we have discussed many times before. Why don't they go to the police?" I've always replied, they don't go to the police because it's dull. And here's a perfect example of what happens when they go to the police.
And actually, there's a big reason for that is because a big part of Hitchcock's movies is that the police are always useless. Yes, and that's a big part of that is because when he was a little boy, his dad, to make sure he didn't do anything wrong, let him at a police station in a cell overnight and then picked him up.
And the scene when the cop pulls over Janet Leigh's character, that is a menacing policeman. I mean, the dark glasses and that really severe face, and the way he gets, you're talking about close-ups, they're right in his face when he's leaning in talking to her through the window. Yeah, he was not a fan, in the same way that Clouseau was not a fan of institutions like the orphanage, and it showed in that movie. Hitchcock was not a fan of police and authority, and that showed in several places in this movie. But nonetheless, I will go so far as to say a great movie, and certainly an influential movie, but I love so many other Hitchcock films more.
Yeah.
But I can't deny the influence of this. And so I'm going to give it an 86.
86. All right. Excellent. Very nice. All right. Dan, again, gives me a score with no comments. 91.
Oh, wow.
I know. Dan loving Psycho. Who knows? Adam, not so much.
Are we sure that Dan's mother is still alive?
See, Adam's score is a positive for Adam. I feel
that was really bad, Dave.
We just keep hearing Susan post comments like, "Oh, my mother says."
Well, I don't know. We got this comment from her earlier. I don't know what that is. Is fantastic, says Adam. First hour is good, then it hits a brick wall. I give the first hour an 80, the second hour like a 40. Put the difference in the middle, give it a 60. So that's from Adam with a 60. I'm in the same boat. I've said it all. We've all said it all. Yes, I think if you were purely judging this cinematically, as far as filmmaking goes, that's one thing.
Right.
We're also talking about enjoyability in 2023 for people who maybe have never seen it before. But so I ended up at an 83. I did enjoy it, but I would probably never watch it again. But I had a good time watching it once. So that's that. So talk amongst yourself, and I'll tally up the scores.
I have been trying to finish Fringe.
Scott, let's see that picture.
Ready?
Yeah. Eric, make it big.
Let me make you big.
Is that your mom?
This is my mom, and she's my age.
Wow.
Whoa. Wait, your mom is your age? How does that work?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. There's this great movie called Psycho. Yeah, this is a shot. My dad's a photographer. He took a picture of her back in like the early 90s. I think it was her birthday, and she was making something.
So long ago.
All right. Well, so now here's the point of the show where everything falls apart. Where we take a look at the scores and how these classical movies rate against every movie we've ever watched.
There we go.
So, hold on, wait. What's going on?
It's not quite as good as A Knight's Tale, but
that's right, exactly right. So
it's not quite as good as a Star Wars movie.
Oh, here we go. Beating out Trading Places is
tied with It's Complicated.
With 81. Psycho.
We all know it's not as good as School of Rock. That's fair.
Well, it's tied with both It's Complicated and Trading Places. It's tied. Wow.
Oh my god.
But here's how the rankings fall out. So
this semester in film school, we're
some like as hot as 81.
The EriDan themes.
Oh my god.
Well,
so
it's like this.
Neither movie making it quite to the first page, but still doing, respectively with the overall rankings.
Wait, Tenet's number one? I thought Forrest Gump was number one.
No, Tenet is number one. This is the second
that
page.
was the second page.
First page. We're in the 80s.
This is page 2.
Well, it's bad when page 2 is in the 80s. I mean, we really have watched a lot of movies.
Oh, we've watched a lot of movies.
Yeah, White Christmas at
what's on page 1. You can see all the things that are ranked higher than these two movies. UHF still ranking higher than Psycho.
Oh man,
margin.
Not based on my score. I'll give you that.
I stand by it. I'm good.
Oh, other than the Dire Straits parody video, no.
Oh, come on. All right. Well, let's go to the thing you've all been waiting for. Is the wheel. Let's spin the wheel and find out who gets to pick next week's movie. Oh my. Now Dave has at least a fourth of the wheel.
Right.
It has been so long since Dave has gotten to choose a movie.
I chose a TV series. I chose some.
You did.
I had a double feature at some
Pick
point.
something that came out when you were born, like the jazz singer.
All right.
Not the Neil Diamond version, right?
I give the movie wheel one shuffle. And let's see who gets to choose. All right, here we go. Round and round. Of course, if it comes up on your name and you're not here, you don't get to choose.
Dave.
Let's see. It's going to be Brittany.
Oh! Yay. Go Brittany. Go Brittany.
Brittany, who literally had 3 spaces.
Which is crazy because I feel like I haven't picked a movie in a very long time.
Oh, no. Actually, well, no, I lied. You had more than 3. But your last movie was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, yeah.
November. November was a while ago, but
it was November.
That was a while ago.
She's really going to throw a curveball. She's going to pick The Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Oh.
She's going to pick The Cursed Child, and we're going to put it on layaway.
No. All right, give me a minute to look at my list. Talk about what else you've been watching.
All right. What have people been
So in the
seeing,
meantime,
right?
we can talk about what else people have been watching. All right. So, Dave, now, you made a comment moments ago that you have been trying to get to the
I'm trying to finish. It's not that it's bad. Season 5, I'm 5 episodes into season 5, which is only a 13-episode season. It's the last season. And it is not as good as what came before. It's not bad. It's still enjoyable, but it's going in a weird direction, and some of the choices made make no sense, and some of the characters do things that make no sense. And it's just almost like they got a surprise 5th season and said, well, we got these scripts we rejected before, let's try some of them. So I still like the characters, but even to me, the most likable character was always Walter, and he's less likable this season. So it's another thing that hurts it.
Interesting. Wow.
But I am still enjoying it, but I've slowed down because I'm not... During season 4, I was just watching. And season 4 wasn't quite as good as season 3. I thought season 3 was probably the sweet spot. But it's slowed. Yeah.
See, and this is my issue, right? Where I feel like it's not bad, but I felt like I had to get through it. And then I watched Shrinking, and then I watched The Last of Us, both of which were episodes I could not wait to watch the next episode, right? That I was super excited to watch the next episode, and I was never excited for the next episode of Friends.
That's how it was with Severance. I could not wait to watch the next episode of Severance. It was just like, I got to go to bed, but I want to watch another one.
Yeah, Severance is exactly the same way. And it's like, and that's my problem, right? Where it's like, could I watch more Friends? Sure, right? But I'd be getting through it. And it's like, that's not why you watch TV.
To suffer through.
Yes.
I made it. I got my badge. I suffered through. I made it through Fringe.
You made it through the Fringe. That's fair. You do deserve a medal for that.
But if you write it, you can get a hat that says "I watched all the Fringe" and just show it on.
Exactly.
Is there any
Fringe on top?
Well, I started watching House.
Ah.
Oh wow,
House is a good show. It's uneven, but it's a really good show. Hugh Laurie is amazing.
He is. I am totally in love with this character. I've actually, a long time ago, I saw his audition tape for this, where he just said, I have a cold, in his very calm British voice. And he went right into character with this measly voice that I don't even have to imitate because it's just my voice. Like, it was so good.
Yeah, I think it was the first
thought
time
that Bertie Wooster could be such a flawed, brilliant man.
It felt like it was the first. I think it was the first time I'd seen Hugh Laurie in anything, and I watched a lot of House when it was on, and it was a bit of a surprise. I was like, "Oh, by the way, he's British." It's like, "Oh, so he is really impressively well,
Right?
having a very authentic American accent." Yeah.
Everyone forgets that he has the best Friends cameo ever, and I didn't even recognize him. It was crazy.
Someone who avoids Friends like the plague.
I've not seen any of Friends. So
All right, basically. It's the very last episode of season 4 where Rachel's going to London to stop Ross from getting married, and he basically says, "You are a horrible human being for doing this." And by the way, it's really clear based on your conversation that you guys were on a break.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Okay, Britt has 2 choices for us.
I do.
Oh, let's go.
I do. Oh, it's gonna be tough.
Oh, there's one really good one. Oh, that's it.
Are you doing Master of Disguise?
Shut up! Yeah, that was one of them.
Oh my god! I was like, there's only so many bad comedies that have 1% of Rotten Tomatoes.
That is an amazing critic score. Yeah,
it is. It really is.
Keep in mind too that Rotten Tomatoes is a 2% margin of error.
There could be a -1.
Exactly.
People who haven't been born yet hate this movie.
Put that on the poster. Put that on the.
Oh
That's hilarious.
That's funny.
And then this is great because Adam Sandler just got the Mark Twain Comedy Award, and we get to shit on that with the Happy Madison movie.
What is
Dana
the other
Carvey.
one?
Warm Bodies.
I don't think
I can't do that one, Brittany. I can't.
Why?
She's a cold person.
Hold on, is it the one with Stanley Tucci?
Oh, it's
right?
it's a zombie. Oh, huh.
Is it the one with Stanley Tucci, or is it the love story one?
It's the love story.
I'm thinking of Lovely Bones, is what I'm thinking.
Oh,
of.
yeah, no.
I was like, Brittany, why? Like,
Oh, I have heard of this one. Okay.
No, it's the rom-com one.
Yeah, this
rom-com. Warm Bodies is a rom-com.
Yeah,
It's a zombie rom-com.
Wikipedia calls it Wikipedia calls it a paranormal romantic zombie comedy.
See?
Cold body, warm heart.
Oh, I love it. Okay, we're picking that one.
On pizza. Here it is, Warm Bodies.
Oh, you're just mad at me because I guessed.
I am. I'm mad because you guessed Master of Disguise. You ruined it.
What? Don't give me a Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm probably going to guess what it is.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
The worst comedy I've ever seen is probably Freddy Got Fingered.
Well, that's notoriously.
Oh, God.
That's legendary.
Mm-hmm.
The only movie I've ever walked out of was Bean. And I love Mr. Bean, but the first Bean movie was just awful.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Maybe we should watch Food Fight.
I don't know what.
Although I'm tempted to go back and pick Master of Disguise because Adam knows the reckon. Oh, he's like,
I would rather watch Master of Disguise.
Well, it's a rom-com. Adam hates rom-coms.
That's a good point.
I know, but it's zombie.
Food Fight is the first movie to ever have -% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
And it's basically supposed to be the food version of Toy Story and was stuck in development and production for 10 years. Its voice cast includes Charlie Sheen, Wayne Brady, Hannah Montana, Christopher Lloyd, Tim Curry. It has this all-star lineup of people, but when you watch it, and it cost $65 million. You watch that movie, you would not believe it. That's not the right poster for it.
Audience score 60%. Tomato meter, no.
It's a documentary?
That's not what it is. Here,
I don't think that's the right one.
Go find it.
Wrong one. Sorry.
It has weird animal characters in a shopping cart from the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Is it worse than Pixels then? Because
It's
Pixels
Food
is
Fight
bad.
with an exclamation point.
Or the Emoji Movie. We can watch that.
Or B Movie.
Like, B Movie's great. I don't know why you got to.
B Movie's awful.
I loved B Movie though.
The
It's
entire
dumb.
movie is the title. We've
I
got
mean,
a
it's
title.
dumb,
Let's
but
figure
it's
out a
also
movie
really
to go with
fun.
it.
So
If we
you-
pick B movie, Dan's gonna have to get
Food
his-
Fight is one word.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Even worse.
Well, it's,
Oh my gosh.
Charlie
It's even
Charlie
worse.
Tuna? Is that Charlie the Tuna?
that's
And
Charlie the Tuna.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says
Lowest
on the
movie.
Wikipedia. It says that at night, after closing time, the supermarket transforms to a city where all the citizens are Ikes, personified, well-known marketing icons. The story follows a cereal brand mascot, Dex Dogtective.
So the entire movie is one giant product placement?
Yeah.
Yes, if you ever want to see Charlie Sheen as an Indiana Jones cereal mascot,
I haven't,
giving
but-
pun after
okay.
pun after pun about food.
So this is
There we go.
the
Oh my
perfect.
god.
Oh, that is awful animation. Oh.
What
That
studio
is
animated
horrible.
this?
You can actually play the audio on this, Eric. No one's going to strike you for it. Oh, also, it's a parody of Casablanca.
Oh, that is creepy.
I couldn't kick your butt.
Eva Longoria.
I've got a hot
Wow. Wayne Brady.
I'm your best friend, Daredevil Dan.
And Christopher Lloyd, the super sleuth, is about
That's
to building an entire army.
His fight was made by
All right, well, we got Scott's next movie. That's fantastic. Will it rate better than Psycho? Who knows?
There's no
Oh,
subtitles.
the California cutoff just as they put the California raisins on.
Let's watch the movie.
Where was Tim Curry? I like him.
He plays this Nazi germ brand X general.
Makes
And
sense.
he talks like this the whole time.
So you're saying, Reagan, you'd like me to pick Clue next?
I don't know. I never watched it, but I like Tim Curry. I like him.
Tim
He was
Curry.
Nigel Thornberry, so my brain is just like, yeah. Even though he was it and he was all these different characters, but Nigel Thornberry.
Oh, I get the Nigel
My
Thornberry.
brain is like, yeah.
It is. I like him.
All right, Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies streaming on Peacock, absolutely free.
Yeah.
What? Oh, and
No.
it's subtitles. You can watch it with subtitles. No, I'm kidding.
Who's in it?
They can't give it away.
Does it have any other language dubs that we could watch it in with subtitles?
I'm sure you can.
Can we like watch it in
Hebrew dub
Spanish
is really
with English
interesting.
subtitles or something?
Do we have clicker subtitles?
Yeah. Is that an option? Like when we're picking a movie, can we also pick which language we watch it in and what the subtitles? I would like everyone to watch it in Spanish with French subtitles. God.
Upside down,
No,
underwater.
It's not a game of horse. It's not a game of horse.
That's what I do. Just pick like a random Disney movie that everybody has seen and just like, let's watch it in German. Like
I do love listening to the dubs of
Ghost
all
of
the Disney
Blackbeard.
songs, though. Like I would be down
That's
to hear all the
Love
Disney songs in German.
Okay, I took French 1 twice. Does that count?
Kent was the one that did it.
Our son used to watch Thomas the Tank in French. He put it on in French on purpose.
Oh, well, no, it was kind of me because
Thomas.
yeah, that's what it sounds like. It was so funny. There was
Oh.
I was watching Chuck one time, and I was watching season 5, and he hadn't watched that yet, and he
I didn't know you watched Chuck.
I know, right? I never would have guessed that. But there was a character, and he was really bad at it, so he was like trying to be this Italian warlord or whatever. I don't remember what he's
Warlord.
He was sitting there and he was like, oh, it's a me, Mario. And he was like doing all these things, like faking it. And he's like, I'll kill you. And my dad was like, why do you watch it like that? And I was like, what? And he was like, but then John Casey goes, stop doing that. And he was like, oh, it's just, but he thought I was watching it in Italian. I was like, that man was so terrible at this.
Good job. Man. Good job.
Adam shares his thoughts.
Wow.
Maybe that could be Adam's next pick.
Yeah, Adam can pick food
And
fight.
he says, God, it's free for him. He's already pre-hating. He's
That's
already
fine.
pre-hating.
He can
Listen,
pre-hate.
Adam, I went to see Zach the other day and I had to make up a question to ask him. And then they were like, okay, speed round. And I was like, yeah, so I saw you at Steel City Con. No, it was terrible. I was like, I couldn't tell him, hey, Shazam 2 was really bad because that'd be really mean.
No,
but I asked him, I was like, how did you prepare differently? And they could not answer. They were like, oh, we just read the script. I was like,
We just read the script.
Well,
no,
I can tell. Yeah, I
The
can
real
tell.
Daniel Day-Lewis prep.
That's how you know someone got really into it.
It was bad. It was so bad because it's just, it was just.
That's too bad.
You want a
It was
fun
really
fact?
bad.
You're not recommending it.
I would not go see it again. I wouldn't.
Oh, no.
Like, I would watch the first one over and over again. I like that
first one's
movie a
great.
lot. But like, if it was on TV, I'd be like, oh, turn that off. Like, I just can't. It was so
Why? Not
The
even
funniest
for free.
script fact I ever have about people reading scripts and just going with it is that Daisy Ridley did not know she was Palpatine's granddaughter until they were halfway through shooting the movie. They just said, we decided this. This is what you're doing now. Okay.
Well, that was one of the comments to flashback for a second about Diabolique, because the director he felt that the Signore, who was playing Nicole, was sort of telegraphing her performance, and he kept yelling at her and said, "I should have never let you read the ending."
I mean, fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no one knew about Darth Vader too. Harrison Ford was watching the movie with Mark Hamill at the premiere. He's like, "Hey, kid, you didn't tell me that happened."
Wow,
that's funny. That's really funny.
Good.
That's cool.
Harrison Ford.
I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones 5.
We've watched Indiana Jones. We've watched The Fugitive. Those are the only two Harrison and Star Wars. Obviously,
we watched that.
Sabrina.
No, we watched. It was like the President one or something.
Jack Ryan.
Yeah, when he was.
That
Blade Runner.
One of the Jack Ryan movies. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched Blade Runner too. Yeah.
Blade Runner, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
I missed it, but I knew.
But how about his greatest role appearing in Apocalypse Now?
Really?
Really?
The nerdy glasses guy played by Harrison Ford. You know you're in hell.
I've never seen Apocalypse Now, so that
doesn't surprise me.
I took in undergrad we had to do a cluster course where it was 2 courses from different fields that were mushed together. So I did one that was rock and roll music and Vietnam War literature and films, which was really cool. But we watched Apocalypse Now. We watched it. We watched a lot of movies in that.
Good Morning Vietnam.
I think so, yeah. So I've seen a lot of Vietnam War movies.
That's right.
Deer Hunter.
It was a cool course though. It was just listening to rock and roll music and watching war movies.
Did you guys ever see Flags of Our Fathers and Iwo Jima back to back?
No.
So do you know those movies though? Basically, Clint Eastwood made a movie about the Battle of Iwo Jima. He did it from both perspectives. And Flags of Our Fathers made a lot of money, and then Iwo Jima was basically trashed, even though I think it's actually the better movie. And I'll bet it's because half of it's in Japanese.
I would be willing to bet, yep.
People don't like reading.
I was aware of them, but I've never watched them.
They're really good.
You know,
I never saw them.
I had never watched anything with subtitles until we watched Life is Beautiful. Is that the one about World War?
Buongiorno, principessa.
Right. So we're watching that and intensely just into it. And we're listening to this foreign language and reading it, and all of a sudden the Americans show up at the end and they're speaking. I'm like, whoa! It just pulled me right out of the movie.
That's what happens when you run into Americans in a European movie. It's okay.
It was kind of a shock because I was just like, wow, I've been understanding everything and reading it with no problem. And it was like, okay, I can do this. So
he won Best Actor for that movie.
He did. It was really good. It was really good.
And then he went on to make the worst Pinocchio movie ever. God.
Crazy.
Everyone makes a really bad Pinocchio movie. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Except Del Toro. And Walt Disney, the first one.
I don't like the Disney version. I don't like any of them.
I can't watch them.
Nope.
I started to watch
Too raunchy?
The Del Toro version. I lost it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna try again, but I got like 10 minutes in. I'm like, not really feeling this right now.
That's funny. I didn't like the live action remake at all.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I think honestly, the only version of Pinocchio that I like is the storyline from Once Upon a Time.
Oh, that's fair.
I did like his brief appearance in the latest Puss in Boots movie.
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
Honestly, the new Puss in Boots movie.
It's great.
Great.
Is it good?
So I would pick it for EriDan.
We talked. So up here at the ballpark where the baseball team plays, they have I think 4 or 5 family nights over the summer when they don't have games, and so they let you come out with pillows and blankets and stuff onto the baseball field, and then up on the big jumbotron they play a movie, and the concessions are open and stuff. And Puss in Boots is one of the ones this summer, and we were talking about taking the baby to it.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Is that the Sea Wolves?
Yeah. Yep.
We have to
watch the new Puss in Boots movie.
I'll send it to you, Stacey.
It will do better than Psycho, I guarantee.
I
will bet cash money that that the new Puss in Boots: The Final Wish would do better than Psycho.
It's surprisingly very good. I do agree with that.
Yes, it is surprisingly. It's the movie I didn't know we needed. Wow.
After the first one too. Crazy.
Awesome. Well, all right. Well, so next week, Warm Bodies. Week after that, regular week. Week after that will be the 24th, and we'll be talking about The Office. So you have got yourself 2 hot weeks. 2 weeks to watch.
I've sent you 10 episodes of The Office you can watch.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen all of those, and they're all cringy. I'm like, of course. Oh my gosh, it makes me laugh.
Pick your own to talk about and tell us why those are better.
Oh no, I'll figure it out. I like The Office, so we're good.
Yeah, it's a good show.
So tell me the schedule again next week.
So next week, regular week, we're going to talk about Warm Bodies.
Okay.
Right. We're going to pick a regular movie. Right. Okay. So you've got this week and next week. So it's not till the 24th. So on the 10th, we'll be talking about Warm Bodies. On the 17th, we'll watch a movie probably selected by Dave at this point, because I'd be shocked if Dave. It's really lopsided now.
I'm not worried about it.
Well, I know you're not worried about it, but it's
I've got a few in mind. It's all gonna, like, if it had been this week, I was going to struggle with, do I pick another sort of almost like a stage production black and white movie, or do I go for an unexpected comedy? Those were my 2 choices. So.
I have an answer to both of those. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Dave has not had a regular week movie pick. Now I know you've had double features and Christmas and TV shows, but you have not had a regular week movie pick since last April 11th.
Oh wow!
I don't mind, and that was defending your life. So,
he can have mine.
No, I'm good.
He's had Christmas movies. He's had TV. He's had a feature in August. He had a double feature. So he's had movies to choose, but just like a regular normal week.
I'll pick the 7 Faces of Dr. Lowe and see who gets into that.
Whoa. Okay.
that is Joel Hodgson's favorite movie.
Oh my
of Mystery Science Theater fame.
Oh, okay. Didn't know who that was. Sorry.
You know that
starring Tony Randall in many roles.
I thought you were pulling
sort of like Peter Sellers in The Mouth That Roared.
What?
So and so said this.
I'm going to choose a Studio Ealing film one of these days. I've been waiting to choose one of the great British comedies. I haven't gotten to it yet.
Like
somebody needs to pick the new Puss in
like
Boots
the
for
Lady
Adam.
Killers, like the Man in the White Suit, the great Alec Guinness ones they used to do.
Oh, Man in the White Suit was a good one.
Oh, Dr. Phibes Rises Again is a great one. If I was going to pick a Vincent Price, I might pick the first Phibes movie though, The Abominable. I don't know.
All right, but let's get
actually another one would be the
that Adam
the Coburn James Bond spoofs, In Like Flint and Our Man Flint.
Yeah,
actually, the poster for the original Casino Royale is amazing.
Oh, and the score is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the puns in it are amazing. Like when the guy gets blown up and the only thing that survives is his toupee, and they find it lying in the field and go, "It can only be regarded as a heirloom."
There you go.
Yes.
Let's keep Eric up 5 more minutes.
That's the dream. How long can
Hey, we're talking movies at least. It's not like we're sitting here talking Pittsburgh sports.
We haven't found our way on topic.
We haven't talked about the Beaver Valley Mall yet, so we got time. We're good.
Hey,
or
Eric-
WGEV.
Eric will appreciate. So Adam's last comment, not the Hey Dave one, but the one before that. Adam's last comment. I saw that and my brain spread it out, and all I could see was Phoebe Bridgers, and I can just see him riding his bike, screaming about Phoebe Bridgers crying in the episode of Shrinking, where he's the 15 minutes on the bike, and I can't say it because it's a bad word. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, get out! You don't even remember. It was so funny. That's so disappointing.
He's been listening. Does he hear you?
I don't know.
If I was going to pick a Vincent Price movie, though, it'd either be one of the Phibes movies or House of Wax.
It was so funny.
House of Wax was horrible.
House of Wax is great.
That's another one I was watching at my grandma's house. Like
we can't watch it in 3D though, so I might not pick it.
Oh,
grandma,
that's terrible.
My grandma.
But I'll stop.
The Lizzie Borden movie.
Shrinking. If Brittany and I have taught you anything tonight, watch Shrinking.
Seriously, watch Shrinking. We have 2 episodes left, and I'm hoping
What's it on HBO?
It's on Apple TV.
Apple
TV.
Plus.
Yeah.
I literally got a free week subscription of Apple just to watch this, and I'm canceling it as soon as we're done.
Yeah, I'll probably.
And I don't have to.
I've had to
pay for
find
it.
alternate means. But yes.
Well, that's fair. You can find alternate means. I just got a week free.
It's so good.
Richard and I watched the new Dungeons and Dragons: The Honor Among Thieves.
How was it? I'm interested to see that.
It was all right. It was good. We had a couple complaints. I don't know that Chris Pine was cast. I don't think he was
He's
the
a weird
best for that
choice.
role.
Yeah, when I saw he was going to be in it, I was like,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It was good. Like we enjoyed
Okay.
it. We laughed a lot. Like it was
Good.
as avid Dungeons and Dragons players. Like we got a
Yes.
lot of the inside jokes, and we were very
the gelatinous
appreciative of
cube
things.
and things like that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I definitely think that
He's
they
such
could
a
have
good
cast him
actor.
better. I think Michelle Rodriguez was like flawlessly cast. Like she was perfect in that role, but he was a little off.
How was Hugh
I
Grant?
just wish he would get a good role
He
like
was
that. He was
pretty
great in Hell or
good.
High
Hugh
Water.
Grant, I was impressed.
They asked Hugh Grant in a recent interview, if you could erase one movie from your history, what would it be?
What did he say?
The Lady and the Highwayman.
Oh, yeah, I did read that. It was a TV movie, wasn't it?
Which he said it was a bad wig and a bad hat.
Well,
and
at
if
least
you
didn't
see
say
the
Love
poster, it is
Actually.
a bad wig, a very bad wig. Not quite as bad as the flashbacks of Walter in Fringe bad, but pretty bad.
Well, Dan should be back next week, and I guarantee you with a very lame British accent. So
Hello.
Oh, that'll be funny. We can all just
it'll be amazing. All right, so Warm Bodies. We continue with our horror. I don't know. We'll see. Romantic horror next week.
Horror.
It's a horror movie. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody.
We should have had a double feature with what was the great zombie comedy?
There was
that newish
Night of the Living Dead.
No, I'm not playing the Living Dead. No, the British one.
Right.
The British one with
Shaun of the Dead.
What's that?
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I've never seen that
I
one.
love that one. That is really
Oh,
good.
you got to see Shaun of the Dead if you like zombie.
Zombieland's pretty good too, but Shaun of the Dead's better.
Yeah,
I do like Zombieland. You know, we're only at 186 movies. We have at least another 186 to go.
I mean, I have a list of like 30. Some of them are Richard's choices, but I just add them.
I cannot believe you have White Christmas in the 70s.
It's not a great movie.
Better than Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Holiday Inn gets pulled down a little by the blackface routine, but
Yeah, it's a rough part.
Be picky. All right, everybody.
That's
Have a wonderful week. We'll see you back here Monday.
Cool.
Warm Bodies. Good night. Bye.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.